With Brexit, that means the UK's exit from the European Union on February 1st, 2020, there were no changes in the health sector for citizens or companies for the time being. This is how it is regulated during the time of the withdrawal agreement. The transition phase will run until the end of 2020, during which EU law in the areas of social law coordination and professional recognition will generally continue to apply in and for the UK. During this time, the UK will remain part of the EU internal market and the EU customs union, so that there will be no changes to the movement of pharmaceuticals and medical products by the end of 2020. But what happens to health and long-term care insurance? When it comes to coverage in the event of illness, the use and billing of health and long-term care insurance benefits in other countries and the crediting of periods of insurance, everything will remain as before until the end of 2020. The European Health Insurance Card or Provisional Replacement Certificate, for example, is still valid during this period. In addition, the withdrawal agreement stipulates that people who have started planned medical care in the UK or Germany before the end of the transition period continue to have the right to pursue this treatment. The private health insurance contracts, substitutive health and compulsory long-term care insurance, as well as supplementary long-term care insurance concluded with German health insurance companies until the end of the transition phase, can be continued from a German perspective, provided that the person concerned was resident in the UK on December 31st, 2020. Since there are many different cases, especially in long-term care insurance, it is recommended that the insured contact their insurance company for further advice. What about the recognition of professional qualifications? There will also be no changes to the recognition of professional qualifications for health professions by the end of 2020. Until then, applications made by EU citizens or British nationals for recognition of professional qualifications by a competent authority in the host country or the working country will still be decided according to EU rules. Affected citizens are asked to submit their application for professional recognition as early as possible and in good time before the end of the transition phase. Recognition of a profession that has already taken place before the end of the transition phase will retain its effect in the other country, including the right to practice the profession under the same conditions as nationals. Further information on the recognition procedure can be found on the federal government's information portal for professional recognition. How much are drugs and medical devices affected by Brexit? But before I answer this question, just to make this clear, because my translation might not be the most perfect one. All I said before goes until the end of 2020. After that, everything looks different. And now let's come back to the drugs. Goods, and thus also pharmaceuticals and medical devices that were lawfully placed on the market before the end of the transition period, may continue to be traded on the markets of the EU and Great Britain after the transition period until they have reached their end consumers without any product changes or changes relabeling is required. According to information from the higher federal authorities in the division of the Federal Ministry of Health, there is currently no concrete evidence that the UK's exit from the EU will lead to serious problems in the supply of medicines and vaccines in Germany. Depending on the risk class of a medical product or in vitro diagnostics, manufacturers must involve a notified body when assessing the conformity of their products. During the transition period, British notified bodies may continue to issue certificates for medical devices and in vitro diagnostics. In the transition phase until the end of 2020, the agreements on future relations between the European Union and Great Britain are to be negotiated. Negotiations about the future relationship have been running since March 2020. The positions of the EU and Great Britain on important issues are sometimes, as you can say, far apart. As the negotiator for the EU Commission is working hard to ensure that the negotiations are successfully concluded within the tight time frame given. The outcome of the negotiations is still open. Regardless of the outcome of the negotiations on the future relationship, the relationship between the European Union and the UK will change fundamentally at the end of the year. UK membership in the single market will differ significantly from its previous status. This applies, for example, to the customs formalities, product certifications and many other aspects that are required in the movement of goods, for data protection requirements, for services and mobility in general. The EU member states, economic operators and citizens must therefore prepare for the end of the transition phase on December 31st, regardless of whether or not an agreement on the future relationship has been concluded by then. In order to provide assistance to all those affected, the European Commission published a communication in July in preparation for the end of the transition period between the EU and the UK. This contains, among other things, recommendations for actions as well as statements on changes in the movement of goods, the recognition of professional qualifications, and mobility, coordination of social security systems, and so on and so on. What are the citizens' rights with regard to health and long-term care insurance or coverage in the event of illness and long-term care? According to the relevant regulations of the European Union for EU citizens, there is currently coordination of the social security systems between the member states of the EU. Since the relevant union rules will no longer apply to the UK from January 1st without an agreement on future relations, the same comprehensive cross-border social security protection will no longer exist. This primarily affects EU citizens who do not come under the protection of the withdrawal agreement, but rather under the new British entry and residence regulations. The same applies to UK nationals in the EU, unless they are covered by specific union rules relating to third country nationals. The exact details will depend on the outcome of the ongoing negotiations. The contracts of private health insurance, and that means substitutive health and compulsory long-term care insurance, as well as supplementary long-term care insurance, are not subject to the above social law coordination. Analogues to the explanations above are, who knows, there are supposed to be no changes, but after the end of the transition period, without the conclusion of an agreement on future relationships, the third country regulations apply to new circumstances in accordance with the insurance conditions in private health and long-term care insurance. What happens to the recognition of professional qualifications for health professions? As of January 1st, the UK will no longer be subject to union rules on the recognition of professional qualifications, so the UK's recognition of qualifications acquired in EU member states will come under British law. EU citizens with qualifications acquired in the UK must have these recognized from January 2021 on the basis of the regulations applicable in Germany for qualifications acquired in third countries. The same applies to British nationals who did not acquire their qualifications in EU member states. How will the trade in pharmaceuticals and medical devices work? Ensuring the uninterrupted supply of drugs, vaccines and medical products to the population is a top priority for the federal government. However, regardless of the conclusion of an agreement on the future relationship by the end of the year, the relationship between the EU and the UK will change fundamentally and differ significantly from the previous British membership in the internal market, since the UK will exit the European Union's regulatory system for pharmaceuticals on January 1st. And the regular system for medical devices is eliminated then. This has the following effects. All marketing authorization holders must be established in the European Union. Trial and batch release locations must be located in the European Union. The specialists responsible for drug monitoring and batch release, including investigational medicinal products, must be established in the European Union. All clinical trials approved in the Union must have a sponsor or legal representative established in the European Union. The information and labeling must comply with Union requirements, including with regard to joint labeling of medicinal products under the terms of the UK authorization. The certification of medical devices must be carried out by notified bodies established in the European Union. In addition, the European Commission has published over 80 sector-specific communications which are continuously updated and aim to help public administrations, businesses and citizens to prepare for inevitable changes that will occur after the end of the transition phase, regardless of the outcome of the negotiations. This concerns, among other things, changes in clinical trials, drugs, substances of human origin, and industrial products, including medical devices. Here are some questions possible from British citizens. I am a British pensioner living in Germany and my healthcare is currently covered by an S1 form. Do I have to take any steps at the end of the transition phase? No, you don't have to do anything. If you are an S1 form holder on December 31st, the UK will continue to fund your healthcare and long-term care benefits even after the transition period ends. Pension and other benefits can be exported. This applies as long as you continue to live in Germany and you are covered by the provisions of the withdrawal agreement. Next, I'm a British citizen and I'm living in Germany at the end of the transition period. Can I still travel to Great Britain or other EU member states with my European health insurance card issued in Germany? Yes, if you are covered by the withdrawal agreement, for example, legal residence in Germany on December 31st, or a general cross-border situation that affects UK and EU member states at the same time, the regulations for coordinating social security and thus also your European health insurance card for holidays at the end of the transition phase and beyond. This applies to trips to the UK as well as to trips to other EU member states. Next, as a British citizen, I'm living in Germany at the end of the transition period and am wondering whether I'm entitled to an S1 form even if I will not reach British retirement age for a few years. Yes, you have the right to apply for an S1 portable document once you have applied for your UK state pension and have shown that you are legally resident and continue to live in Germany at the end of the transition period, or that you have a general cross-border situation which affects UK and an EU member state at the same time. The S1 form will then give you access to health insurance benefits such as German retirees and, in the case of long-term care, to benefits in kind, but at the UK's expense. All this information I got from the German Ministry of Health. And if you now want to know more about European or global politics, YouTube has chosen another of my videos right here in the end screen, right next to your chance to subscribe to my channel. I'll see you in my next video. Click and enjoy. Viel Spaß!